welcome to another edition of Tony Talks Trash About Vinyl here with my guest Jay Stickley today. This is the long promised top 10 Todd records that we've had in our life, I guess, and our own personal favorite ones. You know, you look back on these things and I guess a lot of it's dictated by what we were going on in our life. So I guess there's a certain period of time that we seem to like better than others, huh, Jay?
Yep, you got it. About 11th grade through getting married, having kids.
True.
For you, even longer though. But
Yeah, it
we'll
was.
get into it. Like I said, when I made my list, I'm like, oh man, that's like the 70s.
Yeah, well, mine's heavy duty that way too. There's some ones in it, but you know, some other ones. But again, we're really excited about this concert coming up here on May the 15th. Again, Todd's going to have a band. Well, I didn't say anything about the band last time, but it's pretty much the same band that he's had before. Bobby Strickland is involved, and it's going to be a nice show. It's going to add the dimension, you know, that wasn't there for many years with having the saxophone here.
And I will say, what's good, with YouTube now. Normally, I would never look at the videos from a show I'm going to see. I wouldn't even read the set list, but I knew when I read what Todd said about this one, it would be deep cuts. And they're deep cuts off a lot of albums that I hadn't listened to or only listened to a little bit. So it's been really cool to go back in and listen to these songs, the music I didn't know, and see how great they are. Like Fascist Christ. Oh my gosh. I remember hearing it on the CD, but I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that was something else live. That took on a thing for years. That was really guitar, long guitar showcase and stuff. Well, man, we're going to start this thing off. How are we going to do this, Jay? Do you want to be the? Well, first of all, let me just tell you, we don't really have any hard and fast rules here on this one because this is it's not a big catalog. It's really what we like the most. I know a lot of times these guys on these shows, bar all of the live records. Live records are okay here. Utopia records are okay here. Todd records are okay here. I guess Naz would be okay here too. So,
Yeah,
you
and come on. If Todd Rundgren wasn't in Utopia, none of us would own more than one Utopia album.
well, I don't know. Well, probably not. He probably wouldn't have heard of him, with the machine and stuff. But yeah, man. So so you want to start off, Jay, or do you want me to start off?
Sure, I'll go. And like I said, real quick, I got into Tony, disclaimer, Tony, I think, turned me on to my first Todd album. We were sitting in physics class. I think it was 11th grade. And it was Raw. And that's not my number one album, but that's where I got into it. And so when I got into Raw, then immediately I had all the albums below that. I might have had Something Anything before that, but that's where I got in. But my so am I going my number one or my
Go
number
for your
10?
number. Count down one at a time, brother.
I mean, do I start at the bottom or the top?
Yeah, start at 10.
Okay.
The last one in, and we'll build up to
Okay,
your.
great. Number 10 is Faithful. And I remember I had low expectations for it when I saw it because it was a plain white cover. And I'm like, where have I seen that before? But then it made sense later. And I actually was talking to you earlier. I liked Faithful mainly for the cover songs. Just it was, I didn't have to go out and buy those albums, no. But that was great. And then, of course, the Verb to Love, which you played live a bunch, and then Cliche, which you heard. But that's my number 10.
Love of the Common Man too, man.
Yeah.
That you saw that almost every live Utopia show, we'd see that
Yep.
song.
And then didn't someone redo that and have a hit with it?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I've heard a bunch there. That's been one of the covered songs. Couldn't I just tell you? I'm surprised. I heard a version actually from a band in West Virginia. This band from Charleston named Stark Raven. They actually did a version of Believe It or Not, another Todd West Virginia connection. But yeah, there's a bunch of his songs that.
What did they do? Couldn't I just tell you?
Yeah, I was really surprised. It was pretty faithful.
I always remember the strobe lights to that at the Bayou. Killed.
Yeah, it was great, man. Those Bayou shows were something. Well, I'll start off with mine too. I want to talk a little bit of honorable mention here again. I know we diverged a little bit on this one, but one of my ones that I'm just bubbling outside of mine would probably be "Oops, the Wrong Planet." I would have that, and because I think that record, kind of was a staple of a lot of the songs that were played by that band for a long chunk of time. I mean, a lot of those songs, "Back on the Street" and "Trapped," and those songs were played for a long period of time. Roger, of course, "Abandoned City," that was a big one. But I remember the shock of that record. When that record came out, it was really a big change. You know, before I guess we could still hang our hat on prog rock. I guess with Raw.
Was that the one? Did it come out right after Raw?
It did. It was the one
Yeah,
after.
I remember, and I think that's another thing I had against that album was that it had the Raw pyramid on the front, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a continuation."
Yeah.
But okay, that's your number 10. Oops, and what
No,
was
not
another
number
one?
10. I didn't get my number 10 yet. No.
You're already fudging the
Talk about
rules.
all the other ones. Okay, let me stop talking about the other ones. My number 10, you got to whittle it down to 10, man. Nearly Human. Nearly Human, 1989, Nearly Human. Had One of a Nail, The Waiting Game, Feel It, uh, Love My Life, Unloved Children. I mean, my God, that tour was a tour de force. I remember that night seeing Ringo's band before Todd was in Ringo's band. Todd was in one of the first Ringo's band, but the very first Ringo band. I saw that show at Merriweather Post Pavilion, and then booked from Merriweather Post Pavilion down to Hammerjacks and caught probably 3/4 of the show. I think it's when I said I saw
I never
Spike.
went to Hammerjacks, but a lot of you, my friend Spike, always still talks about his Todd shows at Hammerjacks.
I saw him, like I said, I saw him and his brothers there. Okay, that's my number 10. Nearly Human. Number 10. Go, Jay.
Okay, so my number 9 is actually 2 albums. It's another live album. It's Back to the Bars. And another thing, I picked a lot of my albums that, the time in my life and when I got them. And this is right when I was graduating college. But one of the reasons I liked it is I could just put it on the turntable and a whole side was played with a lot of songs that, I really liked. Plus, it was a live album in different places, and it had a lot of liner notes. I used to I didn't want to get an album that had nothing on because that was before the internet or too much was known. So the more that was written, and I remember that had you had to see out where each song was played. I think he did a residency in L.A. and one in New York. Was that
Yeah.
it? And
Yeah,
that's
those
it.
were different. Yeah, that record was combined with like those shows at the residency in LA and New York, and then he did half of it with Utopia Live. So it was kind of a mixture of the two of those. But that's
Yeah.
when Stevie Nicks and all those guys were, Skeeter Davis and all those
Yeah,
people
and
were.
that wasn't too long after I saw him, Utopia live at the Bayou. It had the same vibe. I think, couldn't I just tell you they did the exact same arrangement on
Yeah,
Back to the Bars as
yeah.
they did there. But that's my number 9.
Well, that's a certainly big in the Todd lore. I did not have any live records in my deal, but I'm going to move on to one that's I've mentioned, in our Kaiser Loves Todd thing, pretty highlighted, which I think probably was the peak of Kaiserdom with Todd, would be the Herman of McHollow, 1978, okay, the year I graduated from school. Like I said, I heard it on the radio at home a whole lot disproportionate to the rest of the world. I later found out, but
Oh, that
those,
was,
and it was odd because that was during a Utopia dominated period, but it was a pretty strong Todd record. I kind of remember that period as being dominated by maybe Utopia, even the fact from pretty much from Raw all the way through Adventures. It was like every time you'd see Todd, or at least I saw Todd, it pretty much was a
yeah.
Utopia show, even though they would play his solo stuff too. So, but yeah, that's my number 9, man. Herman and Mick Hollow, 1978, number 9. I'm sorry, just move my little thing there. Let me move it back. Okay, it's going to sink a little bit. Okay.
Okay, my number 8 is from 1975, and it's Utopia Another Life. And this is one of the albums that I call them my catch-up albums. Like I got Raw, and then immediately I had to get everything for that. And this album is just like, it has a little bit of everything. And it's one of those headphone albums I can remember back in the day putting them on. And, it just, this is the one Do Ya was in on, right? I
Yeah, yeah.
already told Tony beforehand, I said, the fact that most of my top 10 are from the 70s, I said I can remember the album name, the cover, and all the songs that fits all of them. But if I had to match them all with each album, but yeah, my number 8 is Another Live. Even though the album cover sucked, isn't that one that had that little swirl with the people that?
It had a different album cover in Britain. It had a picture of Todd like making a face playing guitar in the British import. I think it is an odd, like a cartoony type of a cover.
Yeah, and it's like the people. I used to consider myself an artist and draw. It used to bug me that it wasn't proportion. I could never figure out, did the artist mean to do that or was he just shitty? But that's
Um,
not number 8. Another Live.
it's just funny. The artwork on the first record, and then the artwork to that is such a con.
Yes,
But that does have the ones
exactly.
Yeah, what's interesting about the whole thing, Jay, about that album is that I don't have it's not on my list. What's interesting about that record is the first side really comprised a lot of the songs that were a surprise when the Utopia reunion got back together. When they heard they were going to play the early stuff, well, people thought, well, maybe the icon, but people weren't thinking about this. The Meteor, what
Isn't
I
it?
consider the
What
Meteor,
What was the Broadway song they played off of that? From Something's Coming
something coming from West
from
Side.
West Side Story. You know, I didn't even know that, and I was listening. I go to the Goodwill now and pick up cheap CDs, but I got the soundtrack to West Side Story, and I was. This is like 2 years ago. When that came, I'm like, oh,
When you're jet all the way. Yeah,
those
I know.
moments.
Right, that's a classic, man. Yeah, that was a that record though on this last the reunion tour was really that was great that they played those songs and really a surprise because that band, as I say, you have the Utopia, the regular band with M Frog, but really when they got to that band, they were really pretty meaty. You had three keyboard players going, and you had Roger Powell, you had Moogie Klingman, and you had Ralph Schuckett, all three playing keyboards. It was a super heavy keyboard laden thing, and of course that version of it. It's interesting to contrast. You mentioned it today to me, Jay, about that great version of early version of Seven Rays that's on YouTube. That was
Yep.
with the band before this, and you can contrast that version of Jay, that Jay likes there, which of course is one of the greatest. I love when Utopia played that live, man. That they had that down like clockwork.
Yep.
That's a hard
That's
song.
another one of his songs. You know, you heard it, and then I went to encyclopedia. I'm dating myself now. Go to the library and look up what the heck the seven rays and what's a chakra.
That's right. Yeah, that's a different hard song to
You'd
play.
listen to Todd and get an education if you were
That's
smart.
true. That's true. He deals certainly doesn't deal in lowbrow stuff very much. Well, we're ready. That was your number. That was your number. What
Uh, that was the number 8.
is your number 8? And you said, okay, your
That'd
number
be
8.
year 7. No, I went first. Who went
No,
first?
you did go first. I'm number 8.
Okay.
Number 8. My number 8's one we talked about before. 1974 double album magnum opus. Todd. I love the record. The record is big. Spark of Life, incredible. Is That Love? Don't You Ever Learn, Last Ride. Shit. I mean, it's really good. There's a little bit of filler on it. I mean, some of the songs, you say, well, what are the ones that you take off? Well, really not many, but it kind of gives that feeling. I guess that Shaft Goes to Outer Space. Some of that is kind of weird. It
Yeah,
does
when I
go
think when I
hard.
think of the Todd album, I really don't think of songs. I think of the whole album because that's usually how I listen to it. With the
Yeah.
headphones on, through both. Always, you listen to a whole side. But
Back in the days of the album art, man, when somebody
yeah,
would make it over a period of time, I love it. I'm still with it, man. I haven't
is that
left
the
it.
one where he had the poster with all the names of the people that sent it
Yes,
in from?
yeah,
And
yes.
your name was on there, and my friend John Mavick. I was so bummed that I got into Todd after that and couldn't
Well, that was a one
send
time.
my name in.
Well, that's a good. Yeah, that's a nice package. That's one thing we should say about the artwork. Typically, is something that we think is superior in a Todd record. But anyway, that's my number 8 is Todd. We're now to number 7.
1090. Okay, my number 7 is Adventures in Utopia. It came out in 1980. I not only like the album, but the tour too. It had a sort of a weird cover with the mummy sarcophagus or whatever floating, but it reminded me of the album that should have came after Raw instead of Oops. It had that vibe for me. You had the Caravan, and then when we saw them live, that's when they opened up for themselves and played this. I think was but yeah, that's like my number 7 was Adventures in Utopia. It was like it seemed to me like it was almost like sort of a comeback. It was like, yeah, you're right, Todd's back. Where I would, even people that didn't buy Todd albums, once again, we all went and saw them in Pittsburgh. But that's my number 7, Adventures in
Well, they
Utopia.
had the hit "Set Me Free." Chasm wrote that, of course, and then and of course, there's a big build up to that. Remember, we saw that we talked about
Yeah,
the
I
same.
like that. Yeah, I even bought a 45 just to get the one song that wasn't on the album. I think it was Umbrella Man or something.
Yeah, I like, that's a good song. Yeah, man. See, you're in the deep cut thing, big time. That's good, man. That's an obscure one for sure. Okay, well, on to my number 7. The record that I've said before, blown on record and said, becomes the blueprint for the harmonic stamp of Todd and illustrates it in the most basic bare form with Norman Smart at his side, recorded in Los Angeles mostly, 1971. One's Ballad of Todd Rundgren. This album, to me, was very hard to find when we grew up. I remember, in the pre-internet days and the pre-Discogs and Amazon days and all this. This was one that was not readily in print because the reason why I think is because it was released about when Ampex Records was leaving the fold and they really turned into Bearsville. So you'll see some copies of this printed on Bearsville, but the original one really is on Ampex. I just think it's very simply stated. It's a very plain and quiet record. Um, Todd could have followed this out. I think he could have followed this if he would have become more of a piano centric player, but he was such a good guitar player and was so interested in such a wide verse of instruments that I don't think he followed this down. This could have been a little more, and I don't mean Elton John, but or Billy Joel, but I'm talking about
Have you named the album yet?
he played a lot of that. What's that?
Which album is it? Have
I'm
you
on
named
number.
it?
I'm on number 7 here,
Okay.
ballad, and
Okay,
that's my number 7. The ballad
ballad.
Todd holds a very special place in my. In fact, on the one Todd cover record, Still There's More, I covered Ballad of Denny and Jean on that. That was the first thing that I had contributed to the cause. And if somebody wants to check it out, it's on a compact disc somewhere. But yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
where.
another thing. That's I call it my catch-up albums, and like the ones I started in was with Raw, but like Run, the Ballad of Todd Rundgren, something, anything. I think I probably bought those all within a month, and in my mind, they all like I was set. And then Nas, I was a Todd fan. If one of you guys told me there was an album out there I didn't have, I'd have to go find it. But
That's
I'd
right.
already been into like the super, hard rock and like beyond that. So while I love them and would listen to them, I never got played as much as the others. But 298. Like I'm counting backwards just because I didn't number my list.
And I did the same. Everybody does when they first get into it. Then they say,
Okay,
"Where's
this
the
will be my number 6. And this is where it all began for me, Raw. This I think, like I said, you turned me on to it in physics class. And, it's where I started. I learned about Todd Rundgren and got the back, records. But, you talk about liner notes that you could read. And it even had the cutout pyramid with the experiment, and I sliced an apple and put it underneath and got my compass out to make sure the pyramid was pointing the right way. And I probably convinced myself the apple didn't dehydrate, but I don't know. I might have been wishful
That's coming
thinking.
from it. Now he would know it's pointing the right way because we're talking to a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout,
But as much as I like Raw, another net thing way I know it's influenced because it was the first album I got into was I also saw that tour that year, and like from a kid that started out with Kiss and Alice Cooper, oh my God, it has slaying dragons falling from a pyramid, first video screen I'd seen. But what's weird is it just hit me is even though I love Raw the album so much, it also has one of the songs I hate the most of all, and this Magic Dragon Theater. And so I
really
remember it was cool when they opened up that tour that year. It was like,
video.
they'd made a video for the whole thing and you watched it. And then, but when the sun came up on the screen, Sunburst Overture, and then it collapsed. Oh my gosh. But that's my number 6, Raw.
Yeah, that was a
Utopia
big
Raw.
reunion. The reunion tour they played when they played
Yeah.
the overture, the back, the technology, the back screens were just
Yeah, when
fantastic.
we saw it, the screen was in the front, and it was just a big version of the projector my parents showed slides on. And I
All
love
right,
reading
man. I'm
about that
gonna.
tour too. The freezing a guitar every night.
Oh yeah, breaking the guitar and stuff. Yeah, that's a trip. Wow.
But
Yeah,
that's
that
not
was
number 6.
okay, man. My number 6. We're gonna go modern here. 2004's Liars. What a tour! Every night. I just don't know how. I had a very good access to a lot of these live tapes, and I would hear every night on the song "Liar" when Todd would scream to the top of his freaking lungs, and I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it and recovered and then he would recover and deliver like an exquisite gem, like Past. He'd play like Past. Past was just Past is like almost a minimalist. And it's still got that cameo
What
sort of thing. Dun, dun, dun. It's just beautiful. But what a great record, man. Afterlife.
what tour did you take me to at the Birchmere?
The tour I took you to the Birchmere, I think, was one long year. I think that was a 2000 when it was a trio. That was a trio that
Now the
went.
trios when we
Oh,
went to
the
when we went to Silver Spring. I'm talking about the Birchmere where the people were eating and had tables.
I don't remember.
Just
I don't.
the Space Hulk guy opened up for him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Langston. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Langston. That was when Todd was.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I thought maybe that
No,
out that tour.
no, no, no. I'm talking about that. I think that was after that. I think Liars was
Maybe
before.
because
I think.
and I don't have Liars on my list, but that is one of the later Todd. I remember getting that CD and listening to it quite a bit in my car, and I almost went to that tour. C.W. Morton.
Stood up, fantastic. Yeah, that was one of the special ones. I think every once in a while, I think the White Knight was a special one, and that was a special one. But anyway, yeah, man, that show at the Egg that they released that live thing can show you pretty much what it was all about. That's my number 6, 2004 Liars.
Okay, so now we're up to my number 5, and this is Todd Rundgren's Utopia, and as I used to always call it, the Eyeball album. It has the eyeball, the freaky psychedelic cover. And what can you say about the album? I'll just name one song, which was my favorite, Freak Parade. And to this day, I love, it's Freak Parade. That was just, he'd put that album and that would separate, and I wouldn't say intelligent people, but the people I want to hang with and people I don't. You didn't have to like it, but you had to, appreciate it. But that's my number 5, the Eyeball Utopia album.
Awesome,
Take
man.
it.
Yeah, that's the first one, 1974. That's
74,
not,
1974.
yeah, Utopia theme. That was the one thing where the radio said that Utopia thing was one of the highest rated things on whatever that system that they could tell what it was. But Lee, what's the guy's name anyway? I heard Todd was supposed to go to a meeting with him and decided to skip out and go party with Dad or whatever. But anyway, number 5 for me, 1985's unique acapella record, Love Acapella with Lost Horizon, Love Acapella with, of course, Blue Orpheus, my God, Lockjaw, Honest Work, Mighty Love, Something to Fall Back On. I mean, really, really a revolutionary record. Somebody should take a look if you get a chance. Take a look at the documentary that was done on Entertainment Tonight. It's a short thing where he demonstrates how he laid this down, but it's a very, very complicated process. And that is my number 5, acapella.
Okay, now it's my number 4 from 1975. And I'm just realizing, too, I not only had played catch up, but once I started listening to Todd, he was coming out every year with an album. But my number 4 is Initiation. Once again, what an album cover, one of those ones you stared at late at night sometimes. And, Real Man, Treaties. It's another one of my top coming up to my headphone albums, and that was one where I didn't just put it on while people were there. I probably never listened to Initiation while people were there unless I turned someone on to Real Man or something like that. But that's one of my headphones albums because there was just so many sounds going on, and just it's like, and I'm talking like 16, 17 when your adolescent brain is like that. It would calm me. But yep, my number 4 is Initiation.
Fantastic, yeah, man. I've got my tales about that one too. I wanted to say here, I did not like Jay. I did not include Utopia in my list. I did all Todd things. We all had a different concept of what I'm doing, and so what I'm trying
And
to
I guess
say,
I did because that's the only reason I bought Utopia.
I understand that,
I'm
but
just kidding.
and I should have. But what I'm telling you is, if number 4 would be that
Okay.
Utopia, I would come in right here now. This would be right where I would do. So we're pretty much close as far as how we rank that. So instead, just sticking with the Todd records, my number 4 is 1981's initially perplexing but eternally rewarding and satisfying Healing record. When I remember when Healing came out, Healing was people didn't get it. People were, but this comes on the heels of Todd's deal in Lake Hill when the guy broke into place, tied him up. It comes on the heel of the assassination of John Lennon. It comes on the heels of lots of
It
stuff.
was a
So
very serious album, I think, and I at a very
and
unserious part of my life.
it was so too serious for you, huh? But my mother-in-law just lives by. I mean, thought it was great. I loved everything on it. I pretty much, that
That's
I
all
thought
that matters.
very good return to form. I love Shine, of course. It's some of it's repetitive. Pulse really good. You heard that,
And
and
how many bands that did you continue to listen to and love that you liked everything they released. Is part of the appeal to people with me like Neil Young, Todd Rundgren is he's not worried about me.
Right,
If
right.
you
He
like
does.
it, you like it,
Right, and that was my
and
rant.
you don't have to like it all.
Yeah, I just did that rant about this Zappa thing. That's what makes me
Oh,
mad about Zappa. That this new
hmm.
stuff they're appealing to the shocking interest. But anyway, that's not number four of 1981's Healing. Everybody remember the Saturday Night Live.
Okay, we're gonna have some overlap now. My number three is from 1978, Herman to Mink Holler. This is
Dun, dun, dun.
also this wasn't a headphone album for me. This was back. This was like not one of Todd's three or four comebacks just for me. But when Hermit came out, it was like instantly. I remember putting it on. It's like ah, it's the Todd I love and remember. Not to mention it was the soundtrack to about three or four heartbreaks. I had those songs on there, and I say it wasn't Bag Lady on this.
Bag Lady was on this, and so was Hurting for You.
Yeah. And
Yes, gosh, I love that man. That, no, he never played that, or never, nothing ever came of
but
that.
and of course, can we still be friends was the big hit
Yeah,
off of. But the funny
yeah.
thing about Bag Lady is that one of the biggest jocks in my grade went to
Oh
Todd
no,
with us, and
here it comes.
he was crying when he watched the video to Bag Lady while Todd was playing it. But
I,
that's my number three, Herman
forgive
to
me,
Mink
Todd.
Holler.
See this. I'm sorry. But no, but I mean, to me, that endears. I told you that endeared me to
Yeah.
him. That fact that
Oh,
that
it
guy.
was. I remember that was an intense video he had to it. I remember thinking sometimes I can be as cynical as Todd. I'm like, I don't want to come here. I want to see some rock and roll. Screw the Bag Ladies. There's probably 10 of them died while I'm watching this video.
Yeah, those are the ones. Those are the ones when you're taping. You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't
Yeah.
want to yell
But I
out.
always respect artists. I'm not hooting and hollering during the quiet parts.
That's hey. So that was your number
Three.
three. My number three is going to maybe be a little bit of a surprise. It should be number. It might be number one for a lot of people. 1972 double album, something anything. I don't need to say what it is. It's really the blueprint for anybody who wants to record your own record. I know other people did it before. I know other people maybe did it during the period of time. I don't know about other people doing it before, but I know that Prince had done it. I know other people claim that they've done it. A lot of people, but to me, that was the first impetus that I had. The whole image of him being and I saw a Hollywood funny thing where they went to the house and the guy reproduced, the thing of what Todd is really in kind of a swanky place, really. If you look out that window where he did the whole piece thing, there's this beautiful swimming pool and stuff out, right outside there. So it's not, it looks like he just did it in a small house, but I think he was working heavy duty at that period of time. And it was, what he called riddling music, man. He just kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it and milking it. And then that last side, of course, kind of a precursor to Nearly Human. Bring everybody in. Let's do a live take. Let's get the thing going. Hello, it's me, of course, the big hit. I saw the light, the big hit. Wouldn't have made any difference. Couldn't I just tell you? My favorite personal one of This is for the girls who didn't know. I
Oh,
love that.
I listened to that a lot on headphones and loved it. But like I said, I
Tonight.
bought like so many albums at once, and it was blowing my mind. And I love the guy even more. But like, cause like I started out with Raw, and then
Yeah.
like Guyball Utopia, and then let me check out this something. What? This is the same guy?
Sweet remember,
I
man. Sweet.
saw the lights. Actually that was a headphone album for me. I don't
Yeah.
know why I didn't put it in my top 10. I might if I redid my list. I can remember listening. And I was actually my least favorite side of that album was the one with what is like that had the band, you
Dust in
know.
the wind. Dust in
Yeah.
the wind.
And
Hit
my
me.
friend CW, he's for some reason, what's the guy he sings about
This
his
there.
friend? Yeah,
This there.
that's his friend.
The one that Todd played on live, he got some live shows of that too. It's funny,
Yeah.
kind of a joke song. All right, man, that's my number three. Surprise number three. Down to the last two.
Yep. Okay, my number two is another one of my headphone albums where, if I put this on, I'm listening to the whole sides one through. And that had to be loud. It was Todd, the Todd
Yeah,
album. Number one of the things I loved most about that album was the pimple on his face. Even then, I knew, like, man, how cool do you got to be to not? I didn't know about airbrushing or anything. I just thought they could put makeup on that, but that's Todd. He's like, I got a pimple. The heck. And then that was the first colored hair on a guy I'd seen. I'd seen him do it like midnight, you know what I mean, late on the midnight special when he did but on an album cover, it's like, wow. And
yeah.
then, like you said, Spark, just the songs, it was weird. And I liked weird back then. The weirder, it was great. But that's
Um,
not number two. You talked about it already. You've already had, but my number two was Todd, the Todd album. And like I said, that sweater he had on, it's like, Kurt Cobain didn't invent the sweater. That was Todd
Yeah,
there.
go. Yeah, take this. We take the sweater back here. All right, man. My number two. You're down to only two. If you guys are trying to figure which one is it, dung, bum, ba, bung, bum, ba, bung. Well, number two, I'm going to put a Wizard of True Star. I don't know. You're saying, well, it's sacrilege or whatever. Wizard of True Star is a 5-star record, of course, in my book. So something, anything, healing, maybe even two, acapella. But I just think that Wizard of True Star has it all. Has from the it has really the prog. I think the progcast, the guy Greg Bendian said that really accurately. Side one is his prog word on one on his sleeve, and side two is really the soul. I mean, the soul record when you get the cool jerk and you get
Oh my God, the medley. It's
and
just
and does anybody love you's on that side? And of course, you mentioned before you were singing before we were starting. You were singing. Sometimes I don't know. That's the first song I'm
ding,
going to sing.
ding, ding. Oh
Does
God,
anybody love you? Is is it my name? It's great stuff,
and the
man.
weirder parts are like more like snippets, holding the songs. I've had people say, "Oh, I can't listen to that album." I'm like, you didn't listen to it, but like just another onion head.
Dogfight Eagle,
Yeah.
rock and roll pussy.
Oh my God. Oh, and yeah, and like that's another headphone. That was actually a headphone and a not headphone album because I had to play that for so many people.
Yeah,
You got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. It's just like
I was
there's parts of it would blow. And
I
it
was
had
just
like sort of show tunes in it too. Like Todd got me. I would have never listened. Once I've, even though later on I found out the song that was in West Side Story. Before that, I could just the way Todd sang some songs, and I'd read where he said that's the only thing he listened to his dad had, and so it
yeah.
made it cool. Okay, can listen to show tunes, and we might as well go to mine. My number one is a
Done.
Wizard of True Star. Since we've
All
talked about
right.
music, beyond the music, come on, it's not even shaped like a record, and it's like if anyone drew a picture of themselves while they were on maybe some substances that had their brain crazy. That is it. There are so many levels to that album, and then I got it afterwards, but I did get it when they still included the postcard to send to send off. Or was that one that came in that?
That was
What?
it. That was
Yeah, I
it.
wonder. And and like for record store day, I went out and bought two more just for both my children. I'll never open me. Like someday I write a little note on it. I don't even try to make them think it's cool now. I figure when I'm dead, it'll be cool when they find it. Like, look at this crazy album. But I love how like people like Tame Impala and everything, and like I love when I hear Todd talk about this album. Like, how it was like the record company hated it, and oh my God, this came after Something Anything, which that's to me that's made Todd so much cooler. I listened to this first, and I'm like Something Anything. I remember thinking about, but this is gonna be crazy. The guy, and then it's like what?
That's
This
what
came
really
right
drove
after.
me. Yeah, this period of time really got me interested in Billy and getting those books going at the
And
beginning.
he was,
Period of
yeah,
time.
he was
What?
learning his craft, the
Yeah. What?
studio.
Yeah. What happened between those two periods? Something dramatic happened, and he just turned into this.
Well, he
You
said
know.
he also quit writing songs for that one girl that broke his heart in high school.
Yeah.
He's never made.
She was from somewhere. I saw something later, dude. She was from somewhere out like in the Midwest. And I think in his book, he writes about that. In his book, he writes about meeting her again at the show and then just how awkward it was and how weird he felt because he had so blown everything out of proportion. Everybody needs their inspiration somewhere
But I
from
mean, like I said, Wizard's True Story. He was learning how. That was the first time I'd heard some of them sounds and
God.
blending into each other, and then just stop. Quiet. Ding. It's like
Song is a
the
song.
dynamics. We go from one part to the next. Then, like you said, the soul medley. Once again, I looked up. He did medley soul songs. Believe me, I know all three of them. And now I'm picking them on jukeboxes everywhere I go because they was like he knew how to pick them. And Cool Jerk. Oh my God. It's and then
Oh,
just one victory, which I think
yeah.
I think you should still end every song. I've told my children if you play any song at my funeral, that'd be the one.
Oh, that's
But you see, it also sort of like bummed me out because I always knew that meant the concert was over.
yeah.
Oh, this is cool,
We're
but
glad.
damn.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
was number
I'm not doing a
one.
tour.
So
Yeah.
I was
Worldwide
very,
event.
very 70 centric, except 1980 Adventures in Utopia. But that's nothing on Todd. That's more on Jay's listening habits.
Well, that's good, man. I enjoyed it, man. And let me give you my number one while we're at it. I think I gave you a hint
Oh,
towards
that's
the
right. I forgot.
My number one, I gave you a hint the other day in the thing, initiation, number one. I said it started in 27, but it was signed in 2017 at the White Knight Tour or whatever. I just love the whole second side. It's always been personally my favorite one. Some people don't like, as you know,
Treaties?
man, some people are anemic to the second side because
Is the
there's no
second
verse.
side treaties?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, I actually prefer the second side to the first.
Yeah.
Except, but
Born to synthesize.
yeah. Oh my God.
Right. Right.
Headphone out.
Real man, born to sin. Death of rock and roll. When he's got both Elman and
Yeah.
Willie, that offbeat thing. It's just like kicking like this propulsive gear the way it moves.
And yeah, that's what Todd had it all. Like heavy metal kids and just, just and he did not care. That's what he's a smart
Yeah.
ass. Some people have said I'm a smart ass, but I
I
appreciate.
remember Fair Warning, man. I remember being really upset with Fair Warning because I thought when I heard Fair Warning at the time, and I was like current with it at the time. I was a little bit late with it maybe, but I remember thinking, man, he's saying he's done. He's not going to record anymore. This is everybody's got to find their own place in the sun. Everyone's so shine
And you
not so
listen to
good.
interviews with him, the state of the music business. He knows where he is and was. I just watched something on YouTube I've never seen before when he did the commencement speech at
Oh, it's nice. Yeah.
Berkeley Music. It was a really good job, and I'm like, that's 10 times. He eventually got into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but if you could say I was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, plus commencement speech at Berkeley, my God, just he even admitted his early. He goes, I was in the unique position that I was making enough money producing records that I didn't have to be commercially successful, so I could do whatever I wanted, explore any sounds I needed. That's
God, it's all about, man. Make your own. If you're pleasing yourself, man, that's always the best art. I think. I really do. That's
And look
in
at
my.
every band. Most bands, their first album, the worst curse for them was to have a bunch of hits because then that's what they were doing, trying to rechase that and please the record. I mean, you and I read all those books. The story repeats itself. But
Everybody
Todd probably,
chasing.
I'm sure made quite a few of them pull his hair. But he was hooked up with Albert Grossman, who was pretty damn
Yeah,
ahead of
that's
time.
a pretty good break to have.
I just think when I found out like the aspects of Todd, you turned me on the Raw album, and then oh my God, he produced Grand Funk Railroad. Oh, listen to that Wizard True Star. What's the album before that? Did you know he produced Stage Fright by the band? What? I would have loved to
Yeah,
have been there and Todd Rundgren and Levon Helm recording. I
yeah,
think that
chasing him around. I think Garth was chasing him around the recording.
I
Todd
heard about.
didn't understand he had narcolepsy. He was falling asleep, and I think Todd was prodding him, and he pissed him off or something. It was kind of hard to get him pissed off, from what I understand. But yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in here. We've been going a bit here. We're about 38 minutes, man. So I think
Oh,
we've
Jay
done
did a
good.
great job. Last one I saw he had it. I'm sure he'll make us look good.
This look fine, man. We're done. We're gonna do fine. All right, brother. Well, anyway, well, thank you for stopping by, man, and getting this done. And so we hope
All
to
this
see
fun.
everybody out at the Todd concert. If you haven't bought your damn tickets, buy them now. Okay. Everybody subscribe, and until the next time, see you.